So this actually goes back to the SWAT team concept I mentioned briefly early on. It was preceded by what I always did, the 3 questions. So when I was brought in new, I would ask the questions: what's working, what's not working, and if you were in charge tomorrow, what would you do differently? And what I learned over time is that the people I would talk to, which would be the VPs and director level employees in the company, they'd all go back out in the hallways and they would talk amongst themselves and say, well, I don't know this guy, but, he actually seems to want to hear what's really going on here. So good people want to make a difference every day. So their energy and hope levels are, starting to go up. And then I get them all together and I say, all right, guys, without personal attribution, here's what I heard you say. Let's talk openly about it. Now the spotlights are on the elephants in the room. And it's okay to talk about the elephants in the room, because it's like, well, why not? That's what we're here for. And then we immediately pivot to, now what are we going to do? And so there's a lot of talk these days about psychological safety. And we've also got kind of what I consider to be a therapeutic culture these days, where everybody tiptoes around and makes sure that, everybody feels okay and all the rest. I'm much more focused on behaviors. And so what I've just described to you on the behavior side is, look, it's completely psychologically safe to talk about the substantive issues when I get all those people together, just like it's become safe to then have hallway conversations and all the rest after that. Because now, once I had done that, and we set some goals to deal with the elephants in the room, then I would spend my time wandering around asking people, you're working on this. What's not working? How can I help clear the pathway for you so you can be successful? If you have any more problems, come talk to me, because I want to make sure you have a chance to be successful at that. And then what I did, this was sort of I started doing this 25 years ago. I formed SWAT teams. Now, I originally spelled it SWAT, like the SWAT, the military type police that descend into an emergency. But in more recent years, I switched to SWAT, SWOT, as kind of a play on the idea of you're dealing with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so what I would encourage, they'd be voluntary, what I'd encourage the formation of would be 2 to 4 person SWAT teams. The only rule I had was no VPs. No VPs at all, because VPs people aren't going to talk when there's a VP in the room like they might talk otherwise. And so I would say, look, guys, whatever issue you've got going on in your area that you're aware of that you think is creating either difficulties or we're losing a positive opportunity, form a SWAT team, 2 to 4 people, highly specific, measurable target goal to address, and then go deal with it. You'll get publicly recognized. Everybody will know who's on it and what the topic is, and you'll get to report on the outcomes and just what you guys figure out. You're not asking them to solve the big company strategy stuff. You're talking about, what's happening on the manufacturing floor, what's happening with customers, what's the customer service problem that's not going right, any number of issues. And then what happens is, think of what that does. You get all of this energy going throughout the organization, because that's the stuff they know. It's the stuff what's the classic thing about makes people disillusioned about their jobs? Nobody listens to me. I can't have any impact. Well, I'm saying, go for it. Don't limit yourself. And then the other thing is, we were talking a moment ago about the snow melts on the edges and catching trends. So they're the people that are going to know about what's really going on in this little part or that little part that's a trend. And the other thing that if you read the literature about, knowledge problems, so think about all the unspoken, the tacit knowledge and the other kind of knowledge that exists in the minds, not even necessarily articulated, of all these individuals in any organization anywhere. And what these SWAT teams are doing is they're teasing out that knowledge and making it visible and explicitly done. And so it creates this incredible energy that's really fun to see. It also tells you, as an executive, who your up and coming management team, middle managers are. because boy, are they self-identifying in spades. And I never said this when I was actually a CEO, but the final piece is, by God, if your VP is not encouraging those sort of activities in their area, you have just learned a very valuable insight about them as well in the negative. And in the positive, if they're doing the opposite.